Hi, this is Ted, member of the 47%, sitting on my front porch, living down to expectations, of course. How you doing? Had a conversation with my brother yesterday, day before, something like that, on the phone about the separation of church and state, and we were talking about this thing going on up in Councel, which isn't too far from here, where the cheerleaders are getting together and putting these banners out for their football team to come crashing through at the football games, and instead of, rah rah, kill the Tigers or whatever like they usually do, they have these Bible verses and stuff, and God is on our side. And I said, that's wrong. And my brother said, well, they're predominantly Christian there. I don't see any problem with it, really. And I said, but we're not a Christian country. That is a public school. It has no place in public school. It is a school paid for by the government, and it is a school sponsored and paid for event. So that led me to this little, this little video today, which is kind of a kickoff for some other things. Christians don't understand the reality in which they live. The United States of America is a democratic republic. That means this isn't a democracy. People don't get to choose by whoever wants the most of something. We choose a representative who goes to Congress, who is supposed to represent the interests of the people, of all the people. The representative is supposed to be someone who isn't just there to represent the majority who chose him, but every person. That's the way it's supposed to work. We're a democratic republic, and we're that way because the Constitution is set up in such a way that we should all be free to practice anything, do anything we want to do that doesn't hurt each other, that doesn't cause harm or, disrupt civil government and things like that. When it comes to religion, we should never, ever have anything told us by the government. We should never tell the government through our religion what to do. Ever. Now, a true democracy is a tyranny of the majority. That means the group rules and the minority are always oppressed. And a true religious government is one that has no freedoms whatsoever. Now, you can't have both. You can't have both. You can't have freedom and a government under God, even if you don't define that God. You can't have both because they're not compatible. And that's something I realized a long time ago when I was a Christian. It occurred to me that the things that I believed, the things that I understood as truth as a Christian, and then the things that I thought, saw, believed as an American were not compatible. They're not. Christians have this little, in America, they have this little line down the middle, this little schizophrenia, where they're on the one side it's their faith and on the other side it's the country, and somehow they try to blend that when it won't work. And that's something you need to admit. Here's what a real good idiot from East Texas has to say about our country.
That God gave us this country.
Yeah, God created our country. Oh, well, that's crap. You know why? Because it wouldn't be true. Because God would never support, no God, no true God of any true religion would create a country where anybody could do anything. No. Take a look at the true religious countries, the Middle Eastern countries that are Muslim. Is there freedom there for Christians? No. Is there freedom there for atheists? Hell no. There's no freedom in those countries because their definition of God defines their government. So if God had created this country then that means God really don't give a damn what we do. Because the Constitution guarantees us freedom to do what we want to do. Look at the governments in the Bible that God supposedly created. Israel and Judah. There was horrible oppression and laws that were extremely deadly and oppressive. So that would have been the kind of country we had if God had founded this country. There are those people in this country that want to found a Christian oligarchy in its place. They're the dominionists I told you about. And they are busting their ass to convince many, many people in this country of what of the lies and the bullshit that they preach and teach. And they, in many ways, blend things that won't work together because they don't want to tell the truth. And the truth is they don't want a democracy or a democratic republic. They want an oligarchy. They want a dictatorship of the religious leadership. That's what they want. And that's what they believe America should be. They're not going to tell you that, but that's what they want. But how do we deal with them? We don't. Here's what a guy named Frank Schaeffer, who is a Christian, who used to be part of the right wing, had to say about these right wing people who can't get the stuff out of their head, who's stuck in this box. Maybe it's you. Here's what he had to say.
We have to understand we have a village idiot in this country. It's called fundamentalist Christianity. And until we move past these people and...
That's right. I mean, you can't deal with somebody that is convinced of something that's wrong. See, there's a disconnect between our mind and our emotions when we are religious people. But freedom is contradictory to Christianity. You just cannot have both. And our government was founded on freedom entirely. There's a link in my notes to a really good video about church and state, which you should look up if you really care about this shit. Now, the only way a government like ours will work is that the government remains entirely and completely neutral. We can't go about putting godly men in office for the purpose of creating a godly country, because that will not be fair to anyone who does not believe in that particular God or any God at all. The government should focus on defense and on public peace and on public infrastructure and public health and welfare, and leave the hell alone everything else. And the other problem that we have in this country, the reason that the David Bartons of the world, the idiots of the world, can get away with teaching the bullshit and the lies, and he is so full of lies, is because education has not been what it should be. It's dead wrong. Here's the right-wing position. Here's Shawn Akers of the Liberty Council on education in this country.
The whole point of public education was to make sure that children are educated so that they can read first and foremost the Bible, so they can learn.
He's wrong. He's dead wrong. Absolutely wrong. Our founding fathers sought to create an education system so that we would know how government functions, so that we would be aware of what's going on in the world, so that we could govern ourselves properly. It has nothing, zero to do with religion. It should be knowing how to read and write, understanding our Constitution as it is written, understanding what's going on in the world around us. That's why the freedom of the press is so important, because it's important for us to be informed. If we're not educated, the press don't mean shit. Because, of course, up until the last 50 years, the press meant written or radio. Up until the last 100 years, it all came on paper. So if you couldn't read it, you were screwed. But these days, religious people don't read it. They don't listen. They don't seek the truth in the news. And they listen to idiots like David Barton, who tells them so many wrong things, and he has been corrected so many times by many, many people. Understand this, people. You have a faith, that's fine. But it is not compatible with your government. You have to learn to accept that. And you have to learn that if you want peace in this country, that you must live in a nation that is guided on principles of absolute freedom so that you can be who you are. And in fact, part of the reason that we have this freedom and this separation from religion and politics is because there were religious groups who were oppressed by colonial governments, and they didn't want that to happen. So they created a government that they could survive in and they could thrive in spite of everybody else. Here's what you have to do. You have to lead with your head, not your heart. Don't let your religion tell you what is ahead of you and guide you, because it's going to guide you crooked. I know that. You don't believe me, but it's true. It's going to guide you crooked. Steer with your heart. Let your heart point you towards the good things and the right things and the true things. And then keep your ass out of the ditch, which means you don't want to keep swerving too far to the right or left. You want to stay on a good path and nothing else. That's right. Have a nice day.